What drives someone to spend tens of thousands of dollars or even hundreds of thousands of dollars on art? What makes someone walk into an art gallery and just say, I need to have that on my wall? Today, we're going to take you inside the mind of a true serial art collector, someone who has more pieces of art than many people have shoes in their own closet. From art auctions to wild gallery stories, from what makes her pull the trigger on buying a piece to where she even finds the wall space or counter space. You're about to hear what really goes on behind the scenes of collecting art. I'm Jock Armour, the director for the Milan Art Gallery, and today I'm sitting down with my friend Jamie Sue West. Jamie, welcome. So, just off the bat, what do you think total ballpark number pieces of art do you have in your home?
Close to 100, if not more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's a mixture of original paintings and sculptures.
Yes.
Where do you put it all? Do you have stuff stored, stashed?
I have a few pieces stored. A lot of it is sculptures. So when I run out of space, I put them on top of the counter, the cabinets in the kitchen.
How much, if I might ask, do you think ballpark you've spent on your collection over the years?
Mm, I'm gonna guess close to 200,000.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny because people worry about the price so much at the time, and then when they buy it, they kind of forget,
Yep.
and it's the emotion behind it.
Mm-hmm.
So I was trying to think how long we've known each other. So we first met at the Darubis Gallery in Maui, right? When you bought a sculpture, one of Nana Lopez's.
I I think I saw the sculpture first, but then it sold. But then we maintained a relationship.
Yeah,
And then after that, I can't remember when I bought the first sculpture. It was so long ago.
yeah.
I
I think it
think by the
was.
time you were at the Milan Gallery,
Yeah,
I started buying sculptures, and it took off from there.
yeah. It's so funny when people think, collector, art collector, that label, it's funny to me because when you talk to an actual collector like yourself, everyone's an art collector if you love art and you want to pick a few pieces. But at the point you're at now, where do you think you cross that line to where you can be called an art collector?
Well, I'm very scientific.
Hmm.
I looked up what art collector means at one point. And it's anybody who has at least three pieces by the same artist becomes a collector of that particular artist. So I'm a collector of many different
Yeah.
artists.
I notice with you and a lot of clients, that term to me, collector, it's like you're collecting memories.
Hmm.
So why do you, and such a broad question, but why do you collect art? Is it a passion for the artist itself? Do you look, when you go in a gallery, do you want to find a certain style or?
Well, my first piece was a Nana Lopez piece.
Hmm.
And I've always been obsessed with meerkats.
Hmm.
And so there was a meerkat piece. Um, I saw that piece, had to have that piece. I'd never ever spent money on art ever. I had to have that piece, and I finally got it, and I was fine. And then I went on a cruise and passed by the art gallery, and there were two more Nana Lopez
Yeah,
pieces.
it
And I
becomes,
walked in, and it was over.
yeah, it becomes like an addiction.
Yeah.
Is there one of his or any piece of art that maybe you didn't like at first, but the story behind it, the emotion behind it sold you on it or made you buy it?
Well, it's funny because I do collect a lot of Nana Lopez, and it's all animals because I'm a huge animal lover. And I didn't collect. I never collected a cat because the cats never spoke to
Oh,
me.
I know the story. Yeah.
But then after the Lahaina fires, I helped the Maui Humane Society and another local organization with the capture of the cats that were left in the burn zone, and spent hundreds of hours doing that, nights, weekends, everything. And when you had gone into the gallery and found that there was some pieces that had burned, but they still survived, one of them was
The
Catfish
cat.
Lily,
Right.
and it had burned. And I remember when I saw that piece and the pieces that came out of there, I thought, because at the time they said there were no animals alive. I thought, wow, if that can survive,
Yeah.
what else could have survived?
Mm.
And so just going through that process and going through the grieving process of losing the town and
Hmm.
helping with the cats get back to their owners was amazing, beautiful process.
Yeah.
Um, it just seemed like that was a piece I needed to have, burned and all.
Yeah.
And so I keep that very, very close. That's definitely not on a top of a cupboard somewhere.
Right. Well, it's funny because when people think about art and value, aesthetically, the sculpture you're talking about is burnt, covered in ash, not perfect. And I love hearing that that's one that is most important to you
Yeah.
because, art is an investment, but it's something more than that. You don't want to think of, I'm going to buy because it costs this much and I want to make this much when you sell it. No one really is going to sell art that they love that much.
No,
So I love art
no.
that tells a story. When people come in your house, what do they say? Do they like how eclectic it is and the paintings?
Yeah, yeah, they really do. They usually start just walking around the walls, and then going into the different bedrooms to see where the other
Yeah,
pieces of art are. Because I, d- I'm not well known as an art collector. I don't advertise that I collect art. Really, it's not until somebody walks into my home and they see how much I have that they
right.
realize, oh, she does this. She really means it.
Have you ever been a part of an art auction?
Yeah, on the cruise ship, I was part of the first cruise. I was part of the art auction, and then after that, was invited to specific art cruises and became part of auctions in those for original pieces.
Mm-hmm. You said that was on a cruise. So I won't name, we won't say any names, but I know that company that does a lot of auctions on cruises, and it's such a great way to get people interested in art. But do you feel there's a certain style, like as opposed to going in a gallery like the Milan Gallery here, when you came in? Do you feel a different vibe? And if so, what's the difference as on the collector side?
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
very different. You go into a cruise ship art auction, and they're just trying to sell pieces. They're, prints, whatever that they can, get you to buy. When you go into a gallery, you're looking mostly at original pieces. You're looking at the work that artist did. So you can really see a group of paintings from a specific artist. And I
yeah,
think it really get lets you get to know that artist more than just seeing a single piece on an easel
a wall.
somewhere.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's so important, telling the artist's story, because that's
Mhm.
where kind of the alchemy happens between looking at a piece of canvas with paint on it and falling in love with it is the story behind it.
Right.
So I love artists that think that way and make pieces that have that type of depth. Me personally.
Right.
Um,
And I will say, so the first cruise I went on, I was not in any way a collector. And it was just a lot of lithographs and, prints and things like that that they had there, a few originals, I was able to acquire. But the when I went on the next one, the artists themselves were
we're
were
there.
there and did tell their story, and we got to hang out and have dinner, and one artist, we even went dancing all night,
Yeah.
and it gave us a connection. They were people, not just somebody who paints.
And with the sculptor you're talking about, I went with you going to
Mhm.
the event, seeing their foundry, going to tour. We're in Ellie's studio right now. You have one of Ellie's paintings.
Mhm.
Um, it's kind of cool to get that personal relationship,
Yes.
right?
Mhm.
Um, do you have a favorite part about living with art? The fact that it's there on your walls to look at, does it make you feel a certain way? Do you rotate things depending on how you're feeling?
I So I don't rotate things. Well, sometimes I guess when I get a new piece, I have to move things out around a little bit. But because, like I said, I'm very scientific. The very first time I went to go put the art up, I read that there was a formula you're supposed to use for the size of your wall space, and so that's how I put all of my art up. And then I had a very good friend come in, and she is an interior designer and amazing. And she looked at me and she goes, "You don't place art based on science. You
Yeah.
place art based on how it feels." And so she went and I don't think she kept a single picture where I had it.
That's funny. Just with what you do for work and it's almost like people that have they use a certain half of their brain
Mhm.
become heavy art collectors because they're kind of balancing that part out, that rigid, organized structure, and it kind of loosens you up a little bit.
Right, it
Um,
does.
do you feel, just going back to the different types of galleries, do you ever feel pressured? I know you've never felt that way with me,
No,
but
never.
have you? And like, how do galleries turn people off? Because I mean, the reason I'm trying to think of how to form this is, I notice as a director, some people walk in and they're so nervous that I'm going to jump down their throat.
Mhm.
They're shell shocked because they're so used to some galleries treating them a certain way. So dive into some of those stories.
Yeah. I know a lot of galleries I go into, you just want to look around and they're immediately just, what are you looking for?
Yeah,
This. And it's like, I don't know what I'm looking for. I'm here to look.
yeah.
You don't know if you're gonna like a piece until you find it. And then if you ever do, like I did a one-off piece at a gallery because I couldn't find it anywhere else. And
What was it?
it was Timothy. It was the first
Oh,
piece I
that's right.
collected.
Yeah.
And I get email after email, invite after invite, and even the the one that, brought me on the cruises, I'm constantly getting phone calls, emails from them to be on this online auction, and I'm sure it's because of COVID, and stuff like that, but it's just it makes you "Okay, I'm good. I'm not gonna be on the call tonight at 9 p.m."
Takes the fun out of it.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
really
And
does.
what bothers me and why I want to talk about it is, there's such a responsibility directors, art consultants have to be the bridge between the artist and the client. So if
Mhm.
you're pushy or you don't really take the time to explain, this piece to the artist, it meant this, and maybe that was the last thing the person needed to hear to fall in love with it.
Right.
Neglect of their power.
Mhm.
And
No.
yeah,
And that's why I've always worked with you.
yeah.
There's never been a push. You've sent me things saying, "Oh, I know you like this artist. This is available. Let me
And
know."
sometimes just, hey, how you doing? You want to grab
That
dinner?
let's grab dinner.
Yeah.
Do you want to go to a magic show?
A little, I mean, I gave you a quick intro, but Jamie Sue here, again, bought a couple things, found out her passion for animals. She volunteered at the Humane Society. I was looking for a cat. She just attended our wedding, my wife and I's wedding. After the big fire that happened in Lahaina, Jamie Sue offered right away for my wife and I to stay. So I love how art has brought this friendship,
Yeah.
and I think when you're in a gallery and I'm the director, you're the client, it can be very transactional, but you know, a lot of things in life can be that way.
Yeah.
I think art kind of starts a conversation in a lot of
I
ways.
agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
I definitely don't just I joke you're my art dealer, but you're a good friend. You're such a
Yeah.
good friend, and so that's why I wanted to come out here and see you.
What about painters? I know you have a couple different paintings. Is there a certain style you like when you look at wall art?
A lot of my stuff is going to be animal based,
Mhm.
obviously, and or some connection with water.
Okay.
My background is degree in marine biology. I'm an avid scuba diver.
Diver.
I
Yeah.
travel all over the world to dive. So I did was able to acquire a Michael Cheval piece that I wanted a different one first, and I didn't end up getting it. But then this other one came up that was just these two women whose dresses turned into the
The
ocean.
water.
Yeah. And I just fell in love with it and I was able to get that. And that's one of my very favorite pieces.
Now, at the level you're at now with the amount of pieces you have, do you kind of look by artist or are you open if you saw something you loved, but maybe it was not that expensive?
Oh, yeah.
That's fine, right?
That's fine.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's good to hear.
Well, and also every artist starts somewhere, right?
100%.
You
Yeah,
know, these people are not known for their first or second pieces.
it's
You
true.
know, they're a long way down their journey
Yeah.
and other artists are going to be the same way.
When you're at a gallery or looking for art or happen to be out in the town, do you look for a certain style of art? Do you want it to fit the paint on your wall you just painted or the fit of your house or the art itself?
The art itself.
Yeah.
Yeah. As I told you, I'm not very good at where to even hang art. So
Yeah.
it just has to speak to me. And so usually it's animal or ocean based.
Are you ever, say, in that situation and you're talking about how much you love a piece, and someone tries to tell you that's not going to fit or talk you out of it, or, say that you should get the one with this color frame because it matches your couch type thing?
I honestly won't even request the type of frame because I don't know enough, and I know that the experts are going to be able to pick the frame better. I don't really listen to anybody else when it comes to what I purchase.
Yeah, that's good. I've known you a long time. We've done a few events, really fun art shows together. Is there, say, a memorable time at an art show that sticks out?
Well, I enjoyed being able to bring my friend, my one of my very close friends, to see Nano in his workshop and gallery and all of that. uh, it'd been years since we've been able to hang out together, and we were able to spend that time that whole weekend with just the two of us. And she became a Nano lover as well.
Yeah.
I was even able to, as a surprise, get her favorite piece for her. Not just at shows though, but just talking about art.
Hmm.
I think it was last year. I was on a trip to Fiji on a boat in the middle of the ocean, but we had Wi-Fi, and you had sent me that you were doing the auction for the Lahaina
Oh, that's right.
wildlife
At the gallery,
survivors. Yeah,
the online show.
the online show.
Yeah.
And so I was talking to one of my very good dive buddy friends, and showing him the pieces, and he saw one of the pieces, and it was the one I loved too,
The octopus Ellie painted.
the octopus Ellie
That's
painted.
right.
And he said, "Oh, I have to have that." And I sent you a message, and you're like, "Okay, sold."
Yeah.
And he sent me a picture when he got it, and he has an octopus table, and so he has
Perfect.
that picture as well, with it. It's really nice.
Ellie's painted three or four pieces in that color scheme,
Yes.
and they sell. That one we had just put on the wall, and it sold during the live when you text me. You then bought her lion that she had
Mhm.
completed.
Yeah, yeah.
What was the draw for that one?
Well, I mean, I did love the colors,
Yeah.
and I do love animals, but the reality was actually I was on my way to Africa in the next couple of weeks,
Hmm.
and so I wanted it to be a memory of that trip to Africa. Um, it's unfortunate I didn't actually I got to Africa, but I did not get to the part of the trip where we would see lions because we had a medical emergency in my family. But now I look at it and I can think about that trip and
Yeah.
the fact that we're going to go back and see that together with the person who had the emergency.
I love how art can do that, where you look at something on your wall and you're transported to a memory that's bittersweet for you, but from my perspective, it shows you had your priorities and family, and Africa's always going to be there.
Yep. And
Which,
you had asked earlier about whether or not, how you decide
hmm,
whether or not you should spoil yourself, as you say,
hmm,
with a piece, spend the money on yourself. The other thing that I always try to do to make myself feel better about it is I make sure I donate at least as much as I spend on art every year,
that's right.
if not more, so that the more I spend on art, the more I have to donate, which is, I think, I love
Yeah,
donating money to good causes. So I think
you're
it's a good way to
you're generous
do
in
it.
many ways with your time and um, volunteering your time with your passion, helping animals, and I know we already covered it, but that whole story about why you got this cat sculpture.
Right.
Seen your house and you're a dog person. So when you said you wanted that, I thought, what? Did I push her or why is she? But I love that art can open things up in people
Yeah.
and learn something new about them every day, and they can learn something about themselves.
Yeah.
So
I even have pictures of that cat sculpture with a fire cat that I was fostering together.
yeah, and that will always have a story when
Oh,
someone asks, "Why do you have this here? Why is that on the wall?" Do you have something in your mind? If you saw something, you can't wait to jump on it. Is there anything next? Like if I see this or this artist or
no,
no, playing it by
no.
ear.
It just, when it happens, it happens.
Yeah, that's good. Because some people think they need to have a plan, or I'm going to set a rigid time to go look for art. Um,
Well, I didn't think I was going to get that picture from Ellie.
Yeah.
but I saw it and I knew it was the perfect picture to have.
Yeah. You're very decisive.
I am.
That's great.
I make decisions for very odd reasons. I bought my first home because the apartment that I was renting didn't have enough space to iron.
Wow.
I
Okay.
make decisions for very weird
Yeah.
reasons.
I wish I was a realtor too. Yeah. How do you think we've gone over some of your pieces, but how do you think just having the pieces in general, the paintings have kind of enriched or changed your life? Like maybe gotten you out of your box in certain ways or
Well, definitely. I'm not an artist in any way. I have no artistic talent whatsoever. Um, and so I never thought of myself of ever being an art collector. Never
Mhm.
thought, I mean, along before all this happened, I just thought, well, you just get pictures to put on the wall. Who
Right.
cares?
Decorate.
My brother got all the artistic talent in the family for sure. But then once I bought a house and then bought the art to fill up the space, I love walking through the house and seeing everything and knowing exactly where I got everything and why at the moment I wanted that particular piece. And I also love sharing art with
Mm,
like my family.
yeah.
I bought my mom a piece that she really liked. I bought my friend Michelle a piece that she really liked. And
It's a good gift giving
it is a good gift
thing,
giving
right?
giving thing, yeah. And they
It's
get
more personal than a
yes,
lot of things you can give
right.
because you're giving the physical thing, but you're also kind of giving the emotion behind it. Um, is there anything, have you ever sold any of your pieces or thought, you know, this is an investment. I should sell this at
I
this
do I
time?
I did buy some pieces specifically as an investment, that would eventually sell,
Yeah.
but I have not yet sold
Yeah.
anything.
It's a duality for me because I don't want someone to make a decision on buying something if that's the only question they
Right.
ask me. But it, it's not a bad thing to point out, if you want to invest in something you can actually look at, that's not a digital this or piece of
Exactly.
paper under your mattress. It's a good way to diversify.
Like I said, that's what my financial planner said.
Yeah. Any other thoughts you can think of that over the years you didn't think you would be exposed to in a gallery or
No, I just literally never thought I would buy a piece of art. I never thought I would
yeah, I'm trying
spend
to think of
that
when
amount of money on anything.
when we first were talking and when I said, I want to sit down and talk to my friend who's an art collector, you kind of looked like me,
Yeah.
like it just creeps up on you,
It does.
and that label, it can almost sound, I don't know, too high-minded or highbrowed.
Right.
And I think a lot of not a lot, some galleries like that to try and, be on the gatekeeper, the this to kind of make themselves sound more important. I think just if you love art, if you buy one thing, it could be a few $100s.
Mhm.
It doesn't differentiate you as an art lover or collector than someone at this level or that
Oh,
level.
absolutely not.
I think
No.
there's enough division in the world. There should be more inclusiveness, and art is
Yeah.
like almost like a language that it's not written or it's just something ethereal that you can look at a sculpture or a painting. I can look at the same one, and we could have a whole conversation about why we are affected by it differently.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And there's no one answer.
If you could have one animal made into a piece of art now, because you got your cowfish commission, right?
Yes.
From Alana.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I would always take more cowfish, and I would always take more meerkats.
So you're drawn to specifically animals or romantic styles or
I have romantic styles, as well. I have one, at the top of my stairs. When you go downstairs, it's in front of you, and it's just 2 people holding hands, and that's a nice way to start your day in the morning walking
yeah.
downstairs, knowing that there could be romance out there for you.
That's a good the way you position in your house can
Yes.
set the mood or the tone.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. We talked about the most emotional story, but do you have a favorite that you're really glad you got it or
Well,
less?
Timothy, of course, because there's meerkats, and
Yeah.
I love the style behind him, and the fact that there's so many cool things to find on it.
Yeah,
I love number 18.
the dog.
Yep.
That's right. So you have a sculpture
Mhm,
of a dog because
mhm.
you love dogs. And I also noticed you had a painting, and that sculpture was
Yes.
paint. So tell me that story. How'd that happen?
So, on the art cruise, I was able to purchase an original, and the artist actually left a space on the wall
Mhm.
for him to commission your favorite piece. But my favorite
Inside the
piece,
art.
yes, but
Yeah.
my favorite piece was a statue.
Yeah.
So he put it on the ground next to the
That's cool.
wall.
Little personal things like that
Yeah.
are such an easy way to change someone's mind. If I don't know, I'm on the fence of this,
Hmm.
sometimes it just takes asking, like, if I could do this, what would you buy my sculpture or my painting that way
Yeah.
to make it personalized?
Being able to personalize the sculptures, from Nanos too, being able to put my dog's names on them.
Oh, that's right.
Um, I have those in a few different sculptures, and then the most recent one with the penguins. I took a trip to Antarctica a
Hmm.
long time ago, and I brought a Snickers with me, so I could eat it in front of a penguin. It's a very, very long story as to why
Tempt
that
them?
happened.
Yeah.
And
I saw Happy Feet. I don't
oh
remember.
yeah, no, there's not in Happy Feet. But so I got a picture of myself eating a Snickers in front of the penguins. And so now there's a Snickers bar on that piece that
That's hilarious.
I
So, with all the cruises you've been to, art galleries you've been to, shows, is there any advice you give to an artist? Say you're just starting out, you're having your first show. For example, I would say, don't be too nervous. Do you notice certain things that artists kind of get nervous about at shows when they're talking to a collector?
I think it's always best when they're just themselves because you want to get to know that person.
Right,
And that's really special to be able to get to know that person behind the art.
right.
So not trying to sell things up or anything like that. Just
Be honest,
be honest, have a conversation.
vulnerable.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're very passionate about animals,
Yes.
um, romance. Anything else
Water.
in your collection that you purchase at a certain time because of the way you felt about it?
I talked about I love water. I do have
Hmm.
a original Victor's Fico, just because it's a boat in the water, um, and so it drew me to that.
Yeah,
And I got to meet him and talk to him and hear his story. I don't know that a lot of the pieces I would have purchased had I not been able to hear that artist's story.
right. I'm asking because artists sometimes will ask me, hey, as a director, what should I paint? What do people want to buy? And, it's really tough. That's a tough question because what do you feel like painting? I don't know if the person that's going to walk through the door has a connection to this or that. It's just paint what you're going to love and
Hmm.
love to do. Because if you try and pretend or phone it in, there's a collector out there for you. If it hasn't sold in a few months, just maybe be patient
Yeah.
because when it does find the right person, it's going to be the right piece.
Well, I'll tell you that if there's a painting of a cowfish out there, 90% of the community is not going to understand what that is.
Hmm.
But then there's people like me who I have cowfish as my license plate on my car. And I
Right.
will walk in and I
Yeah.
will say, "Oh my goodness." So
Yeah.
you definitely can't know what people are going to want because
There's a person for anything you
there's
can
a person
dream
for
up.
anything you can dream up. Yep.
Yeah. When did you get the one from Alana, the cowfish? Was that?
I think it was last year.
Yeah, she's great.
Yeah. I love that picture.
So you saw the gallery last night?
Mhm.
What did you think?
It was beautiful. There's just so much color.
Yeah,
Um, it's just a bright, happy space.
yeah. Can't wait to expand a little bit because
Yeah.
there's so much art and all the artists in there are so talented.
Yes, they are.
So I can't wait to see them grow and find new collectors. Okay, a good question to ask is what advice would you have to someone that's just starting out to collect art? How has that changed your life and what things could they avoid doing or lean into when they go to a gallery?
I think the most important thing is to buy what you love and not what somebody tells you you should love, or the one that's more expensive, or any of that. You don't go based on the price, because there are amazing artists out there that are very, very affordable.
Hmm.
And then there are artists that you do have to pay a little bit more. But if you buy a piece just because you think you should, you're probably not going to grow to love it.
I had one client who the piece of art they were looking at was $23,000. This is 8 years ago. Every year I would see them. They would come to Hawaii twice a year. So I'd see them every 6 months. And they wouldn't buy that one. But to satiate their desire to buy something, they would get two or three smaller things. And every year it was a sculpture. So the price went up
Up.
because it was bronze. Every year they were ready. Okay, we talked about it. We're ready to buy it this trip. And it's incrementally creeped up. So it was just enough for them to say,
Mm.
okay, we're not going to get it this time, but we'll get these three things.
Mhm.
And after about 4 years, I grabbed a calculator and I said, I've known you guys for this long. You've spent more money than that thing cost today because it's almost like you go to a restaurant and you keep filling up on bread,
Mhm.
but eventually you're still going to eat the steak.
Yes.
So just get the thing. I mean, that's what I say, not trying to sound pushy, but I will give that advice. Hey, if you need to hear it, just if you love it that much, it's not going to go away. It's not going to leave your head. And you'll probably end up buying a bunch more that maybe you don't love as much.
Yeah.
Maybe you just wanted that one piece,
Right.
but
It's true.
art has a way of sticking in your head.
Yeah, I have a piece like that that I could have purchased for a very reasonable price. It is probably 10 times that price now.
I've seen that with Demetra
Yeah.
collectors because when she started 10 years ago, they original art increases. That's why
Right.
it's a great investment in a certain way, but it's true. I mean, if you got it then, yeah, you might have paid less. But hey, I point out now, she's only 20, almost 26.
Yeah.
You could do that again, and I'll see you in 10 years, and then you'll be kicking yourself again. So
Right.
at the end of the day, though, that price is such an issue when they're deciding.
Mhm.
As soon as they walk out the door, I'm not lying. No one's ever called or emailed and said, why'd you make me buy this? You'll find a way. There's always a
Absolutely.
way you can move things around for something you love that much. Uh,
I know, and it's true, because at the time, I'm always like, "Oh, should I really be spending that much money?" And now when people come into my house and they see something, and they always ask, "Gosh, how much is something like that?" I'm like,
I don't
"I
remember,
have no idea."
right?
I can go back and look at my emails, but
Yeah.
I don't remember how
Two things
much.
happen when you walk out the door. Um, the price disappears in your head, and the next day you want to know that it's gone up,
Yes.
right? So whenever someone's saying, like they're negotiating a car, I'll give you this. If you take this, can you call the artist? As soon as they walk out the door, they don't want to know that that art could have been discounted because now they own it.
Right.
So there's times when artists will, hey, you know what? Send me their offer. I know they bought two pieces. I'm happy to maybe give them a deal on this one. Um, but it's a hard line. Sometimes you have to draw with people and just say, once you own this, you don't want me to say I'm discounting.
For somebody else, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
absolutely.
So, advice you would give someone who's just starting out is just buy what you love.
Buy what you love.
Yeah. And you feel you've done that?
I've gotten better at
Yeah.
it. I think, uh, at first, because I had a large space to fill up, I just bought things that I liked,
Hmm.
and now I only buy what I love.
Where in your travels, because you travel a lot, is there a certain place that every time you go, you have to go to this gallery or see this art venue, this art auction?
Not really.
So you don't follow the art, it's wherever
Well,
you
I
go.
do, if usually if there's an Ana Lopez gallery, I will
Check it
find
out.
it,
Yeah.
check it out, but I don't, I don't really think about it until I see it.
Art is always around. It's a great way to see if you go travel,
Mhm.
to see that culture, to find something new, maybe fall in love with a new artist.
Hmm.
Yeah.
One of my favorite little tiny pieces is just a silly little goat, purple goat that I got. It was an art place in Aruba, and I thought it was adorable. And then I found out that a lot of the proceeds went to the local humane society,
Nice.
and so I cherish that piece. It's up there with my nanos.
Well, I cherish you as a friend. I hope everyone that is thinking about being a collector really dives into it the way you do, because I've seen how it enriches your life.
And it's brought this amazing friendship.
Totally. And, just like the label of artist and art collector, gallerist or gallery director or client, those sound so formal when we're
Hmm.
talking, because I kind of view all my clients like, hey, this is a friend. I'm not going to send them something unless I know they would love it, or know, hey, they're thinking about me. Not just, hey, I hope they got to buy this because I want to make the money on it.
Oh, well, I mean, you often never even sent me things. I sometimes always send them to
That's
you.
true. Yes, sometimes you said, I saw this. I know you could get it for me. This guy was really pushy, and I told him I would send it to my gallery gallerist or whatever. So
Yeah,
I must have done something right along the way.
absolutely.
But I think having the right art helps too,
It does.
to curate a relationship like this.
Yes.
Okay. Well, anything else you can think of?
Not that I can think of. Thank you for having me here.
Yeah. Well, thank you. And we'll do it again next time
Okay.
you're in town.
All
Have a
right.
whole bunch more questions.
Sounds good.
All right. Thank you guys for joining us on this conversation. Thank you, Jamie Sue, for being here. If you want to leave in the comments anything that you heard in this conversation, tell us when art's affected your life. We want to know how collecting art or just viewing art has made a difference in your life. If you're ever in the Sarasota, Florida area, come down to Palm Avenue and check out the Milan Art Gallery and hit subscribe to see more content like this.